Welcome back to Wrestling Flash. If you are new, be sure to like and subscribe for more wrestling content. Without wasting any time, let's get into today's video. One of the biggest mysteries heading into Raw was regarding the cancelled Moment of Bliss segment with Drew McIntyre. The segment was the most advertised angle heading into the episode, but WWE just pulled it at the very last moment without providing any logical explanation. WWE announced a Miz TV segment instead, and there were significant doubts about the reason behind WWE's decision to nix the original angle. PW Insider has now revealed that the Alexa Bliss-Drew McIntyre segment was removed due to the rewrites that happened before the show. It's a known trend for the Raw and SmackDown scripts to undergo major rewrites, and this week's Red Brand episode was no different. As noted earlier, Miz and John Morrison opened Raw with a new edition of the Miz TV. Mr. Money in the Bank hyped up the tag team match, which was scheduled for later that night. Randy Orton and The New Day also got involved in a segment. When it comes to Alexa Bliss, the former WWE Women's Champion chose Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, over Nikki Cross in a backstage segment. Alexa Bliss put on another exemplary display of her acting skills as Nikki Cross confronted her. The former SmackDown superstar wanted Bliss to make a decision. Alexa didn't hesitate to pick the Fiend over her friend, and it ended up being one of the best backstage segments on the show. The latest Raw episode underwent rewrites as always, and the most prominent victim was the Moment of Bliss segment. It should also be noted that Bray Wyatt did not appear on the show, and as of this writing, we don't know the reason behind his absence. The main event of Raw saw Drew McIntyre teaming up with New Day to take on Randy Orton, The Miz and John Morrison. McIntyre's team ended up picking up the big win after Randy Orton abandoned his teammates and skulked off. Orton will be defending the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre on next week's edition of Raw. Drew McIntyre was one of the guests on Raw Talk this week, with hosts Charlie Caruso and R-Truth. During the interview, McIntyre was asked about his WWE Championship match against Randy Orton next week on Raw. "It's exactly what I've been looking for. I mean, after Hell in a Cell I'd have asked Randy nicely, 'Randy, do you mind if I have my rematch? I mean, you had two from me, but after 20 years of Randy being a little bit of a DK, it's kind of proven that he was going to say no, and he's frankly scared of Drew McIntyre. I've got the match I'm looking for. Randy Orton vs. Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, an opportunity to get my title back." After being asked if he was confident heading into next week's match, Drew McIntyre exuded confidence. McIntyre acknowledged his mistake at Hell in a Cell, which cost him the match, before sending a clear warning to the WWE Champion. "I am more confident than I've ever been. There's a reason Randy has been dunking me, the reason he's been taking all the beatings, the reason he was in such a bad mood tonight, sulking at ringside while I tormented him the whole time. He knows exactly what's going to happen. There was one mistake at Hell in a Cell and I was on the side of that cage right there. I let go and I crashed off that cell and through that table. That was on me. Randy goaded me up on the top of the cell. We're on the side, I went through the table, crashing through. Next week, my big A boot will crash through Randy Orton's face and I'm once again going to be WWE Champion. Randy Orton will defend the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre next week on WWE Raw.